This is Simon Benoit of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you're listening to the Ladies Talking Leafs podcast.
Welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And starting off the show today with some great news for our podcast. We're now on hockeyhotstove.com.
Yes, you can still find us on all the podcast apps that you listen to, as well as the Believe network at Believe.com. But Hockey Hot Stove is a little different in that it has various forms of hockey content, podcasts like ours, blogs, and forums for all 32 NHL teams. And you can register there at hockeyhotstove.com to get all your favorite teams' hockey content. And of course, plenty of Leafs content on there
For sure.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get right into our show now, and we're going to kick it off with a bit of a recap of what we've seen in the first 4 games of the series versus the Panthers. And then we welcome to the show the ultimate Leafs fan, Mike Wilson, to talk Leafs playoff hockey with us. So without any further ado, let's talk Leafs.
All right, so let's just get right into it here with the goaltending. I mean, there was... Joseph Woll was put into a difficult position. This is the second time actually in his young career that this has happened to him with in a playoff series where he's had to come in because of injury. So in game, I guess it was in game number 2 that he came in. Yeah, for Stolars.
I think
and then
thought he came in in game 1.
3.
No, game 1.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Because we're into number 4 now, so I'm losing it. Yes. So game number 1, and then he played games 2, 3, and now 4. And previously, I guess he came in 2023 in his rookie year. He came in to play the final 2 games versus the same Florida Panthers after Samsonov got injured. But tonight, anyways, in game 4,
I mean, this is the game that he's going to steal the game.
Yes.
But that only works if the rest of your team recognizes that and does something to score, right? Yeah. So, but really, he did everything he could tonight to keep them in the game. I don't think you can fault him at all.
No, not at all. And he was, this game was kind of familiar in that it was the shutout and the Leafs couldn't score. The top players were not the top players. But in reality, it all started in that first period, taking the 4 penalties. And I did reply to a comment on X about the fact this was something that stuck with me from Mike Babcock when he coached the Leafs. And there were times when we got a lot of penalties at that time. And he said he didn't use it as an excuse, but he just said, when the offensive players are sitting on the bench, their legs are basically frozen because they're sitting on the bench the whole period. And after that, the flow is it just doesn't happen. I mean, no matter how much they get paid, it just seems to be that. So I mean, I don't know. I thought that Matthews would have rose to the occasion just a little bit. But it didn't happen for him again. He had his chances again, and Bobrovsky just he got the shutout. And
to me, they got the lucky bounces tonight. I mean, some of those replays, you could tell they were just centimeters from going in, and Willie had his wheels going tonight.
Yeah.
So well, he played awesome tonight and he just wasn't rewarded. As far as Matthews goes, I know he didn't skate this morning, and I think you could tell because I don't know. I think he looked worse tonight. So whatever he's dealing with, definitely maybe he should have skated a little bit, not necessarily got into the drills, but at least been on the ice. But he just looked like he was just made out of bricks tonight. Well,
I was thinking
was not getting any speed, and he was decent and tight, with checking and stuff like that. But I don't know. And I thought I didn't think Mitch had particularly the best game tonight either. So
again, yeah, because I didn't think he was good in game number 3 either. Marner, like he just, and then of course he nearly got his head taken off by Kulikov and no penalty there.
But it's okay when they do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then that last thing with the whole Rodriguez lying on the ice, like I'm just like,
oh my God,
whatever.
And at the end of the game, that was funny. I liked the fact that Domi he came in and gave Barkov a shot there at the end of the game, and that's fine. I don't know. I mean, I mean, I guess you can. You don't like saying it's the refs, but in this case, I think it was the refs just taking the whole flow of the game out with those 4 chintzy penalties in the I think one of them definitely should have been called, but the one like with knives between with the hands, it was like a little mini hook sort of. I guess they're going to call that, but I mean it's the playoffs too, right? Like but
the problem is that they're gonna call that, but then they're not going to call the elbow to the head. Like come on, You're not calling a dangerous play, and you're calling a chintzy play like that. Like, and 4 in a row for that kind of thing too. When you can't tell me that there's no infractions in that time period that were at that level on the other side.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous.
And it's funny when Oliver Ekman-Larsson got that delay game penalty. You're telling me like I just hate it when the refs come together like that, and then all of a sudden they decide that yes, they clearly saw. Because I don't think, can you review that? The fact that the puck went over the glass?
I don't know.
I don't think they can. I don't think they can. And they just kind of talked about it and then decided, so then we ended up being two men short, and of course they scored on that. Verhaeghe got the power play goal on that, right? But it was it was a game to forget. And I mean, a lot of people are saying it's their worst game of the playoffs, but it probably
I kind of think that I might agree with that. But then, they had one stinker versus Ottawa too. So anyway, we have home ice advantage now. So I guess we're going to see how valuable that is.
Yeah. Well, each home team has won their games, right? So at home, and so that basically says. And we have the 2 days off in between. Yeah, now
so I think that is going to definitely benefit us for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking that as well. So, it's tough, but obviously there's other guys we need more from. We already talked about Auston Matthews. Yeah, he's struggling. But
this is where I think too with him going back to like November or whenever it was, he went to Germany and that, and we
should have just stayed there.
Well, we were
for
saying
treatment for longer.
Load management, right?
Yeah.
Just shut him down. I don't understand why they didn't do. I mean, he ended up getting 33 goals, I guess, during the season. I don't know. I
wonder how much of it has to do with the fact that this is the year he got named captain. For him to be more of a presence and not being, taken out. But
I don't know. That's
I don't know.
True. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. But yeah. So. It's tough to see him. I mean, he has 2 goals now in the 10 playoff games.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, we need him to score. And I mean, ultimately he knows that. And you kind of feel bad for the guy because he's obviously being hampered by this injury.
Well,
whatever it is.
And the thing is that like on the ice or off the ice, if you're hurt like that, like you are not getting good rest. Your recovery is not good. Like there's on or off, you're not doing well regardless. Like you're not able to get yourself in game shape and recovered and all of that. So anyway, hopefully these 2 extra days off are going to help a little bit. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of guys that are feeling a little banged up, but I don't know. Like it's
the other guy that we need is more from. Yeah, let's just say is Bobby McMann, right?
100%. Yeah.
Because last year,
and we've been saying that for days.
Last year we thought because he was injured, he didn't. I forget if he actually came back for one game.
No, he didn't.
He didn't come back, right?
No.
So we thought, he's going to, like last season, we thought like that would have been a big presence like in the playoffs if we had him, right? In the series versus the Bruins. But now this year, he hasn't scored since March 25th, going back to the regular season, and he has just one assist in the playoffs right now.
No, and I mean, he did get, in on the net. I guess I don't know if it was the second period towards the end of the second period or third period.
Yeah,
but that's like too little, too late. I mean, he needs to be a presence there. He needs to use his speed to get into the zone and up there, right in front of the net. He's been terrible along the boards. Like he's being beaten on like every, puck battle. So I just really haven't seen much from him at all. I don't know why.
And he's been, tonight, like Berube started mixing it up a little bit, like moving him up with Tavares and Nylander, and then putting Nylander with Matthews and putting Marner back with Tavares. He was mixing it up, so it's not like McMahon doesn't like get the opportunity like to play in with the top 6 players. But still, he's playing with Domi, who's a fiery guy too, right? Like you would think that he could feed off of that somehow. And
I just kind of felt like nobody had it tonight. Like they were a step behind. Like even the fourth line that has really been, hounding pucks and stuff. Like they just seemed like a step behind as well.
Yeah, you didn't notice them too much tonight.
No, I just think that, like you said, those power plays at the beginning completely got us off our game, because I think, we've had such quick starts and we weren't able to establish that. So they just never were able to establish their game from the get-go. And that's pretty much the story of the night.
Yeah,
made the Florida Panthers look like the cup winners that they were. That's for sure.
Yeah, Gord Dwyer and Francis Charon were the referees. Yeah. So thanks to them, they ruined the game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we could have. I mean, it was only 1-0 for the longest time, right? Like
I know.
If they would have, and that's where a guy like Auston Matthews or Mitch Marner. I mean, if Matthews is injured, like Marner's not injured as far as we know, that one of those two guys, Willie's done a lot in this series, right?
And nice too. Like they've had their breakouts, like. So
these other two guys that are supposed to be like even a level up, obviously they are a level up. They need to play like that. And they have now, it's a best of 3 now. So they have the opportunity to do that.
The other person that I felt did not look great in this game is Tavares. I really felt like he was like just a step behind too. Like I just really didn't notice him.
I didn't notice at all. Him, but I didn't see him making any.
No, he didn't make any errors.
Yeah,
but I didn't notice him.
No,
so that means he didn't make an impact either.
Yeah. But the first is hilarious though, because the first power play was amazing. I thought for sure they were going to score when we got our first power play opportunity. And then after that, it was just like, what, did Florida figure it out or something like right away?
Yeah, I don't know.
And just shut down all the other opportunities. I don't know. I have no idea.
Anyway, this is one of those ones that you got to definitely forget about quickly.
Flush it.
And flush it. So,
and we have the extra day to do that. So
that's right. So really just, move on, forget about it. And so we got to try to not bury our team for the next 2 days, because they definitely still have what it takes to come back in this. So, I mean, it's just tight. So what are you going to do? It's
especially if we get the goaltending from Joseph Woll like we did tonight.
100%. Yeah.
Right. He's the star of the game for us. And if we get Woll playing like this for the next 3 games, assuming it's I think it's going 7 personally now. Right.
Oh God, for sure. And I mean, I think it probably should, because it's just like, I know this is not a 2-3 matchup like Dallas and Colorado were, but that went the distance as well. And it was like, that looked like it could have been a Stanley Cup final, right? So we're playing against the reigning champs. So this is probably going to be, I think, our toughest test.
Oh yeah,
personally.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is where you just have to bear down and get it done, you know? Because you have to beat this type of team if you really see yourself as a contender and a team that can go all the way. So I'm sorry, you just got to get it done.
And this is the one game where the scoring was the issue, or not scoring.
Yeah.
And that's it. They're not allowed to do that again. Like this type of thing. Like, it has. No. They have to convert on their chances. Basically, they got to bury it, whoever it is.
No, and I think at the first period too, I think part of the problem as well was there's like too many one and dones. We just didn't get traffic in front, and we didn't get the rebounds or anything like that. Like, we'd get a shot and then that was it. Transition, moving out of the zone, right? So they need to be able to establish more pressure there, and of course stay out of the box, because
that's for sure.
Anyways, to talk more about the Leafs playoffs and the Panthers series so far, we now welcome to the show the ultimate Leafs fan, Mike Wilson.
All right, so we're in the thick of the Leafs' second round series with the Florida Panthers, and to talk about it, we are excited to have with us Mike Wilson, also known as the ultimate Leafs fan.
The hockey community, and especially Leaf fans, know Mike from the collection of hockey artifacts he had in the basement of his home, known as The Room. Today, Mike is an author of several books, and he is the host of a podcast, Squid, and the ultimate Leafs fan with former Leaf captain Rick Vive. Mike and his partner, Deborah, also host fundraising events and have raised over $2 million for various charities. Thanks for making time to meet with us today, Mike.
Geez, thanks for that introduction, ladies. That's wonderful. I could sit and listen to that all day long. I mean,
well deserved.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we get lots and lots of help from the hockey community and people like yourselves who supported us for all these years. So, as I always used to say, debt does all the work. I just open a door. I just open a door, shake everybody's hand, have a beer, and tell stories, and that's the easy part.
You definitely have a lot of stories. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, especially after that road trip where you went to every single rink in the NHL.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
We'll ask you a little bit about that later.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So we're just going to ask you a bit about the Leafs right now, because they are in the thick of the series. So far, what are your thoughts on the series, and with Joseph Woll in particular, I guess, with the goaltending having taken over from Anthony Stolarz because of the injury? Do you think Joseph Woll can get us through this series, backstop the Leafs through this series to win it?
Well, it's going to be tough, and he's been put in a tough spot, as he was 2 years ago when he came in cold in the series. And, he was anointed the number one goalie in the summer for a reason. He's always had injury problems, but he sat for 18 days, came in, and again, coming in a very tough position. And this team loves to hit the net hard, push the play hard on the forecheck. So he knew they were going to come at him. He doesn't handle the puck as well as Stolarz does. And, Florida's tried to take advantage of that. So I think he's done very well under the circumstances. I think he's getting more confidence as it goes along. And just with that, the guys in front of him have been blocking more shots. There was a time there, the other game 2, I think Florida had the puck in the Leaf end for almost a minute and a half, but they only got 2 shots. So they're keeping the puck to the perimeter, which is very well, and that's a credit to the defense and the forwards. And I like the fact that Toronto, we have to face it. Game 3, they got outplayed from about the 10-minute mark of the first period to about the 10-minute mark of the third period. And then they all of a sudden realized, hey, wait a minute, we've been getting outplayed, but we're still in this. We're 2 shots away from winning it. And lo and behold, the Morgan Riley goes in. And, if Nylander or Hernandez had scored, we'd be sitting there talking about a 3-0 lead, but instead it's 2-1 and a fluky goal went in. But what I like is the fact that the Leafs have stayed away from the nonsense. That Florida's going to come at you hard. You got to give them credit. They are playing the man first. They're trying to separate the player from the puck. They are not even attempting to play the puck. All they're doing is going after the player. They've targeted Chris Tanev, where he's got 30 more hits against him than the next guy in the whole playoffs series. And I like the fact the Leafs have tried to push the play up the ice a lot more. And when they do that, they're very successful. And then when they've been doing that against Florida, it frustrated them. And you could see in the third period, Florida was tiring because you start running at guys all game like they were. It wears on you. And you could see by the third period, they were just going, these guys are still here and they're taking this. And again, they're thinking, we make one mistake, we make one turnover, and we're down 3-0, and we're basically done. So they were playing tentative, and they were almost playing like the Leafs were after the first 10 minutes. So it's been back and forth. I think if Toronto continues on that line, take a hit to make a play like they've been doing, stay away from the nonsense, as I'm repeating myself, and everybody's got that. The players are defensively responsible. The defense is playing great. They're keeping the puck to the outside. They're dumping it first. That's the first and foremost play they make. They'll eat it if they don't have another play. And they're not afraid to ice the puck because the forwards, the centermen have been doing a great job winning faceoffs and getting control. So I think along those lines, you have to expect the unexpected in the playoffs. And I think going forward, if the Leafs just can maintain that, composure their coach is exhibiting behind the bench, Chief Berube, who's very calm and doesn't get out of control, I think we could be okay.
What do you think about the criticism that is going Matthews' way right now?
I think it's unfair. He's an elite hockey player. He was leading the series in hits for forwards the other night when he went into Game 3. You watch him at ice level and what he does and what he's going through. Yeah, the puck's not going in the net, and he's missed the most. He's missed the net most of anybody. I still personally believe, and Rick and I have talked about this on our show, that he's playing hurt because he looked a little bit hesitant in the Ottawa series to be carrying the puck through the neutral zone, which is usually his strength, to set up the other play and the others in the offensive zone. Whereas in Florida the other night, he was starting to carry it a little bit more. He's moving the puck around. But look, the way Matthews is playing, you got Marner on the other side. These guys are, it's almost like gang tackling with Florida. They've targeted Marner, Matthews, but you can't cover all of them. And that leaves Knees open a lot if they go after those two. And you saw what Knees has done so far in the playoffs. But as far as Auston goes, I think it's just a matter of time before he breaks up. But it's everything else he's doing away from the puck that is so well. And he's playing on the right side of the puck right now because this is what wins games. And goals are hard to score in the playoffs. And listen, I love him to score, but if he keeps playing and stripping pucks and setting plays up, they've had 3 goals scored against them in 5-on-5 play in the 3 games against Florida. That's better than any of the other lines. So he's matched up always against the number 1 line against Florida, their number 1 checking line. I just think that criticism is unfair. He's playing very well, and his teammates appreciate what he's doing, and it's just a matter. It'll come.
So is there, from the 3 games played in the series, like which Leaf has impressed you the most, and who are you looking to see more from as we go deeper into this?
That's a great question. The 2 players that really, I guess I'm not really surprised, but Knees, the way Matthew Knees has played, and he seems to elevate his game. The bigger the game and the bigger the stage, he seems to be showing up. And this kid is just everything that the Leafs have been missing for the last number of years as a power forward. Goes to the net hard in the forechecks, got great hands. The puck seems to follow him around when he's on the ice, and that's not by accident. And his level of play just keeps impressing me even more the way the series goes on. I like the fact that, Yenrock has come back after being out for most of the year, and he seems to be improving game by game. And he's that type of tenacious type forward that's also hard on the puck and great on the forecheck, who's been playing well. It's got a lot. You can see now why the Leafs wanted him, why teams were coveting this, because his game has gotten better as he's way more comfortable now as a Maple Leaf and the role he's been given, because he came in with a lot of unfair pressure put in him and expectations to be, a third-line scorer that's like a Nazem Kadri or something that can score 35 goals and just be a star player. That's not his role. His role is what he's doing exactly right now with the Maple Leafs. And you look at how well he's played. I like the fact that I thought Bobby McMahon and Ty Domi's son Max would be way more of a factor. They were much better in Game 3 because this is their type of series where there's bumping, grinding, crashing, going to the net hard, and not backing away and being hard on pucks. And that's what Max has brought to the Maple Leafs. McMahon, they were both better in the last game, so I look for those guys to elevate their game a little bit more. But the most impressive player has to be Chris Tanev. The pounding that guy has taken, they are targeting him. And let's face it, I mean, Florida makes no mistake about it. You know, I'm going to sound like a whiny Leaf fan, but that Reinhardt shot off
We like that.
well, you know,
you can do that on this show, no problem.
Thanks, Phil. That's very nice of you to say. But, you know, that Reinhardt shot off the mask of Stoltz in the first game, I don't think was an accident. You know, these guys, they try to hurt guys when they're hitting them. They're not even, as we were talking about, they don't even play the puck. They're just trying to take the man. And they have this play where they'll dump a puck in the corner and have forwards. The two forwards go after to the defending player, and they're not even looking at the puck. And Tanev has just been absolutely pounded, and they're trying to get him out of the game, and you can see it. And he's just so tough. Look at that hit he took the other night. Again, the whiny Leaf call, how that's not called cross-checking. The exact same play that Lawton got called on the game before. Cross-checked face first into the glass, but he takes the hit, comes up, gets the puck up ice, and they go down and score. So it worked out well that way. But they got to somehow find a way to not let him get pounded as much as he had. Like, there's got to be a way to maybe eliminate the other forward, block him a little bit to give Chris a little bit more time with the puck. But just his tenacity and the way he's been taking hits, that's been just super impressive. And that's exactly what you need to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they were saying on the broadcast, I guess it's part of the style of his play too, that he hangs on to the puck until like the last possible moment to push it up to the to his defense partner or the forwards, and then he gets basically hit into the boards because the guy's coming right at him. But they're saying maybe if he moves it up a bit quicker, that he can avoid some of those.
But then that messes with his timing, though. So like I think that's one of the things that in past playoffs, like we've noticed guys, trying to avoid that hit and getting rid of the puck quicker, and then it turning into a turnover. And the fact that he's so composed back there and willing to take the hit, I think that's like a model for what everyone else needs to do. So I really think that, unfortunately, he's going to take a pounding, but he's like a good old Timex, like some of our younger listeners won't remember that. It takes a licking, but keeps on ticking.
or a Macedonian warrior. That's what he is. Macedonian warrior.
Well, that's the whole point, you see, and you guys have hit the nail right on the head, is the fact that he does hang on to the puck because that's just a selfless play on his part because he knows he's going to get hit. But think about it. He's got control of the puck. He's taken a hit. It's eliminating one of the other forwards on the other team. So now it makes it 4-4. And if he jumps by the guy, it's now 5-on-4 as the other player's trying to get back into play. So he's doing that for a reason. Yeah. Because he knows he's going to get hit. They're going to finish every check, which is what they're doing. And so I don't want him to change that. I just don't like the dump-ins because they know the fact that Joseph Woll doesn't handle the puck like Anthony Stoltz does. Yeah. And you could say that there was the other night, I don't know how long down this, that empty net, and it shot up beside the net. Yeah. That should have been in, but they got to find a way to just adjust to that a little bit more. But I think the fact remains that, you got to face the facts. He's going to take a pounding.
Yeah, with Woll trying to handle the puck, don't you think it's better that he just stays in his net if that's not his forte
I think it partly is, but I think, again, I think that's part of the style that they're trying to play to get the puck up to the forwards quicker. And Stolarz has been doing that. So it's kind of an expectation now that he try to do that too, because that's part of their game plan, probably especially against these guys too, right? Against Florida.
Well, you're right. And with Stolarz back there, he's a big man, and you saw what he did to Rodney Gregg in the Ottawa series when he tried to bump with them. He just, he looked like a faller in BC chopping down a tree with him in front of that, and Woll and they didn't go near him. And Woll doesn't play that type of games. They are going to take advantage of it. But you can't get away from what you're doing. You can't let Florida bring the game to you. You got to take the game to them. You're leading the series for a reason. You won the Atlantic Division for a reason, no matter whether the fact remains, which I thought Florida played a little possum at the end because they didn't really care who they played. But you won that division. You're leading the series for a reason. Show it. And don't let Florida bring the play to you. You take the play to them like they did the first two games and about half the game in game 3. That's the mentality you have to have moving forward. Instead of looking over your shoulder to get a hit and look who it is, take the hit, make a play, and take a number and get them later.
Yeah, I kind of feel like in the second period there, a couple of the goals, especially on that 2-on-1, I've heard a lot lot of analysis and breakdowns on that. And they kind of got away from that a little bit. And Marner was kind of, instead of coming back, he sort of was already going down, and they weren't doing as much of that, chipping it out type of play, just getting it down to the other end. And so they kind of got away from that. They were a little bit in no man's land, and they got burned.
Yeah, it's much easier for us to sit up and watch the game from our...
For sure.
and, at ice level, the time is just... There is no time. There is no space. Those are the old two hockey cliches. There's no time. And you don't want to be the guy that makes that mistake that costs the team a game, may cost them a series, and it costs you a run at the big prize. So all those pressures are on every time the puck comes on your stick. And that's what you'll see. I mean, some of the guys out there, they go from smooth skating players handling a puck to handling the puck like a grenade when it comes time to make a play. So you got to give room for all of this, and there's going to be mistakes, and that's how games are won and lost. Look, Florida turned the puck over a lot, and that what I like to see the Leafs do moving forward is cut down on some. There's some moments there where your heart is pounding pretty hard when they've got the puck in their end and they're passing in the front and they're trying to make 2-3 passes before they exit the zone. When they get it out right off the bat and make that first exit pass a good one, good things happen. But there was times when there's too many turnovers. And again, if things aren't going well, dump it or eat it. And that's the mindset you have to have. And I'm sure Chief is enforcing that with the players. And I think you'll see the Leafs a little bit more on that tonight, or Sunday night, actually, which is tonight.
Yeah.
And the fact remains that, I hopefully cut back in the turnovers, because that's been costly.
Yeah, I think that's what he said, that they need to be more direct.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
No mincing words.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Craig Berube is very direct with his message.
Yep.
All right. So we mentioned off the top of our show last week, actually, that you're doing a charity initiative to help in the fight to find a cure for ALS. Tell us more about that, what you're doing.
Well, first off, thank you for the shout out last week, ladies. That was very, very nice here. And we need all the help we can get on this. So Mark Curtin, who's a former Maple Leaf, has ALS and is in a wheelchair and has a mask for a breathing apparatus. They had an auction in February around the Four Nations for the ALS Super Fund. And the NHL, all 32 teams contributed prizes. Now, they'd asked Deb and I to get involved because they wanted us to figure out what type of prizes they should ask for from the NHL teams. So I suggested they ask for game day packages and including a morning skate, a meet and greet, maybe a dinner, and tickets to a game. And most of the teams came back with that, which was wonderful. Now, the problem was a lot of them had set dates for the games. Now, people couldn't make the plans from February when the season's ending in March. So a lot of them didn't get taken. So what Deb and I decided to do, I got a hold of some of the NHL guys, and we had them call around and have them change to next year. So the whole schedule is available. So as an example, so Deb and I bought these, and I said, I'll buy them because we have our charity book, which is a beer league hockey book I wrote, and inside the room is 2 books that you guys mentioned, and thank you for that. What we're doing is we've been selling our beer league book for charity, and they're $20 Canadian. So what we did, we decided to use some of the money from that. We had about $12,000, and we bought several of the packages. And what we're going to do now is re-raffle them. And all you have to do is to get one of these, to get a raffle ticket to be eligible for one of these prizes, is buy one of our books. They're $20 Canadian. It's just like buying a raffle ticket. I mean, even if the book stinks, you get a chance to, at least win.
I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it's a wonderful book. We full disclosure, we haven't read them yet, but yes.
Well, I'm a little biased, ladies. So, it's I think it's kind of, I talked to over 200 guys who played beer league hockey and got all kinds of funny stories. So,
well, and I think that's probably a really great book for Father's Day coming up, actually, because so many dads play hockey and a lot of those stories are going to be super relatable. And you know what? Dad doesn't like to go down memory lane, thinking about his beer league hockey days, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the guy who, there's a lot of drinking involved, of course. And the guy who's out to 3 a.m, goes to his game the next day. He's not a very good player, but one goes in off his butt and the team wins the game. Well, 20 years later, the story's being told to his kids and his buddies. They'd around 4 guys and he sniped the top shelf, the same goal. And nobody cracks him. As they always like to say in beer league hockey, and hangovers come and go, but beer league stories live forever. And they ought to get embellished as the years go on. So there's all stories from like that. every dressing room, every team has the same type of guy. The guy who thinks he's the real ladies' man, the guy who's Mr. Get Anything for anybody but never delivers. The guy who's got all the latest in hockey equipment, gets his skates done and done this way and done that way, and this equipment, this stick, and then he stinks and he can't play worth a lift. Then you got the best player on the team who's got equipment that's 40 years old, and he's almost using a wooden hockey stick still, and he can still score 30 goals every league season as the best player in the team. So, and there's all these stories about all that. So that's the whole thing. But the charity, I just want to get back to and mention some of the prizes. We've got like some of the places we have we use destination sites when Deb and I bought these, and we bought one for ourselves. We bought the one in Nashville. We're going to put that in the package. But the Nashville one, as an example, is 4 tickets to the game. You get a morning skate. There's dinner in the restaurant in the rink, and you get a pre-meet or a post-game or a pre-practice meet with meet and greet with the player, and it's the team's choice because they can never pick a player because in case the guy's hurt, so they got to wait till you ride when it is. So there's one in Colorado like that. The San Jose one is fantastic. It's the same way, including a hotel room. We have one in St. Louis, the same, and you meet Braden Shen, and he gives you a game-used stick, along with going to the press conference and the morning skate. St. Louis, there's one to Minnesota, and there's one to Long Island with the Islanders. There's 7 of them. So there's 7 prizes. We want to have the draw at the end of June when the NHL schedule comes out so people can pick their games. And it doesn't have to be a Maple Leaf game, although we hope you do take a Maple Leaf game, but it doesn't have to be. It can be any team as long as wherever the city you're going to, they're playing. So we bought these, and now the charity will win twice. Our goal is to sell 2,000 books. Sold just a little over 700 so far, and I've really just started pushing it. But we think that it's a great opportunity for somebody with a business. They can use it as a business promotion, like a sporting goods store, or somebody like that could buy 100 books for a couple grand. And you can use them if somebody spends $50 or $60 or $100 in your store. You get a raffle ticket and a chance to win one of the prizes. Or you can
even like as a point of sale kind of thing, like you put it right there at the cash register, and people can see it and pick that up.
Yeah, so I mean it's a great promotion, and as you said, Father's Day you can give up to somebody. And I've got, we just need some help, and people buy raffle tickets all the time. Only this chance you get,
and all you get is a piece of paper.
Yeah, but and so mine you
with
get
the
a
number
book
on it.
The book of anything, it's fire starter for your fireplace or for your barbecue or something like that. One of the books. So, but we're just urging people. We need your help. People have been very supportive of us so far. Like you two ladies have supported us. We can't thank you guys enough. The NHL guys, Jeff Jackson at Edmonton has been absolutely wonderful, and the guys like Luke Robitaille, Joe Sakic, they just didn't even blink an eye to help. Brennan Shanahan with the Maple Leafs, like people don't give him enough credit for what he does in the charity community. Anything Deb and I ever tried to do, he was first guy to step up and help anyway. I spoke at an ALS function a couple of weeks ago, 650 people, and this young lad was 30 years old. He's now 31, and he's barely walk. He can barely speak. And it's just heartbreaking. Like I brought him up on the stage to have a raffle, which Brendan Shannon gave us some tickets and stuff for that. He could barely get up the stairs. And I'm standing up there trying to talk. And I talked to everybody at the one time, but I'm going up there with Lewis. You're ready to start crying because here's this kid and he's, giving everything to help other people and not worrying about himself. And Mark Curtin is the exact same way. He's full of energy. He just goes a mile a minute to help somebody else and forgetting about himself. So you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, how can I not help these people? Like, we've got our whole lives in front of them. These guys the clock is ticking, yet they want to help other people. And it's just, all you got to do is spend 5 minutes with one of them and you would give anything. So Deb and I and everybody else at the ALS Foundation are just begging you, please, just like buy one book, 2 books, something. Just
so how do they get this? For our listeners, how do they get?
Go on, but
no, that's okay. That's a great explanation. It's great for our audience to know because even we have U.S. listeners too, right? So they'll be really interested in, let's say, one of those U.S. cities, whether it be the Islanders, St. Louis, or whatever, or San Jose.
And by the way, U.S. listeners, this is in Canadian dollars, not Fahrenheit dollars, so it's even cheaper.
Oh my God,
it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do they go about getting one of your books and the raffle ticket?
So do that. If you go to, and it's Ultimate Leafs Fan. I know if you're not a Leafs fan, you'll be sick typing those letters out. Ultimate Leafs Fan. Just close your eyes over Leafs. But ultimateleafsfan.com and just look for books. You go right to our site, or you can DM me on Facebook. Go to my email page. My email is mikend8@gmail.com. Reach us anyway. I will speak anywhere. We're going up north on Tuesday to speak at a firefighters club to sell books to them. I'm going to a Rotary Club in 2 weeks to go and speak to them. I was at the NHL alumni a couple of weeks ago, and I don't care if I can go sell 20, 25 books at a time. I will go anywhere to do this. It's nothing on our part to do this. All we're begging people, just try and help us here. It's $20 a book. I know I'm repeating myself, but just please help us.
That's great.
It's really not a lot. So definitely we're happy to help and happy to spread the word. And of course, we're going to have all of those details in our show notes as well for people to find easily.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the Leafs a little bit, just to wrap things up. So we mentioned off the top that the other thing you're famous for is for basically going to watch the Leafs at every NHL rink.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, what was your favorite stop along the way?
Oh boy, there were so many. The biggest thing was the fact that when we just to backtrack just to a little bit of an introduction. Because we became known as the Ultimate Leafs Fan, and by the way, for U.S. listeners, ESPN, it's your country's magazine and show that gave me the name. ESPN called me the Ultimate Leafs Fan, so I just kept it for branding, okay? So I didn't call myself that. But the biggest, so we used to get lots of requests for what's the thing worth? Do you want to buy this? What should I pay? All that. And once the collection moved to the Museum of History in Ottawa, I decided, I've got to find out what it is about, what makes us tick about Maple Leaf fans. Why are people so engaged in this team from right across North America? And it has something like nobody else. And it goes back to the early days of hockey when the game was first broadcast on radio by Foster Hewitt and went across the country. But the only form of entertainment was the radio back in those early days in the 30s. And families would gather around the radio to listen for the entertainment. But the only thing that would be on would be Hockey Night in Canada. Well, it wasn't Hockey Night in Canada, but the radio show. And it was a hockey game. Well, they didn't get the Montreal Canadiens. They got the Leafs. So these families became so engaged, and it was so part of their growing up and their DNA, and was passed down from the generations. And then the war stories, during the war year, the stories were sent over to his Foster Youth recording, sent to the troops to keep them alive. And I spoke at Sunnybrook Hospital a couple years ago, and the veteran said to a man, without those records, they wouldn't have survived, being sent over and listened to fight. It gave them hope and knew that people were thinking about them and supporting them back home. So they were big. So keeping all that in mind, traveling around, every city there was Leaf fans. There's Leaf clubs in Washington. Vancouver has a special bar for Leafs only. San Jose, LA, all these places had special Leaf moments. But December 1st, just the day that Willie Nylander signed with the Leafs, it was 2018-19, I did this. I was in Minnesota, and they had their annual, at that time when Jake Gardner was there and they played in Minnesota, they would have that outdoor game, 3-on-3, that his father started, and had the Gardner Cup, they called it. Yep. So I went to that. I did an event 2 nights before with Connor Brown, and he said, make sure you come to the skate on Friday for the open skate. So I walk over, and it's a cool, crisp day, and it was the kind of crisp day where you can see your breath. And I'm walking in the city of, over to the XL Center. And all of a sudden I come around a corner and you hear that sound of skates on the ice, pucks bouncing off the board, slapping of sticks, and all hooting and hollering. And I look over and there's the Leafs playing, and it's just like a local rink. And I went up and people are standing around watching, and they're hooting and hollering like kids. And after, they went to the concession stand beside the rink, which was outdoors, obviously, buying hot dogs and drinks, and they're in full equipment. Their skates were over their shoulders, their helmets tipped up on their heads, and carrying their sticks and eating their hot dog and holding their drink in their other hand like this and walking to the bus, just like kids. And that struck with me so much that it was so Canadian, and it was so hockey, and they were playing the game for the right reason. And 3 weeks later, I was in Nashville, and coming to Bridgestone Arena, like a dope, I forgot my phone under the seat. I ran back up to get it, and I came out the wrong door, and I'm walking up beside the rink. And I'm talking to Deb on the phone about the agenda for the next day, because she was just instrumental in everything happening for me. And she was working social media and all this. And I said, And it was, again, a cool night, crisp night. And you could hear everything, every sound echoed. And all of a sudden I thought, that's a trumpet. And I said, what's he playing? Hang on. I think he's playing "O Canada." So I got up close to the rink to the front entrance. And I said, I'm saying he's playing "O Canada." Listen to this. So I held the phone up to her, listen. And the people exiting the building were singing, Leafs won that night, obviously. The people exiting the building were singing "O Canada." And this trumpet player's playing "O Canada." And I stopped for a moment and I just shook my head and said, that's just unbelievable. Like, these are things that you just never hear about and you experience. And so those are two moments that really, really, really stuck with me. But it was just the amount of fans and the passion the fans had. And what it was is, they're Maple Leaf fans, yes, even though there's 7 NHL teams across the country and 6 other ones are in Toronto, obviously. Their home team may be number 1, but the Leafs are definitely number 2 out of respect for their great-grandfather, their grandfather, or their dad. And they would go to games just to experience the feeling of being there and seeing them live. Not, if they want them to win, but you know what I mean? It's just that whole experience that they wanted to see them in the rink. I met people in Minnesota from Thunder Bay. One group of guys I went up to, and there was about 6 or 7 of them standing. I went up, guys. They didn't really know who I was. Not that I thought everybody should know who I was, but they kind of got around. And so I said, I'd like to talk to you guys. Who's the guy? To go, this guy here. He's our Maple Leaf guy. I'm not talking to you. Yeah, well, talk to me. Okay, I'll talk to you. So I get a couple stories out of the guys. And I come back to this guy and I said to him, now these guys, you got to remember, all in their 60s. And I said to the guy, did I do something to make you mad or what? He goes, oh, no. I go, okay. And I said, so what are you doing? You won't talk to me? What are you, violating your parole or something? And he goes, well, almost. And I said, what'd you do? He said, well, this morning I thought I had to sneak out of my house and I put my jersey under my coat so my wife wouldn't see me, and I jumped in the car and we drove here. That's a 7-hour drive. And I said, okay. He goes, well, I thought you were a reporter and it was going to be in the newspaper and my wife would see my picture. And I said, so you stuck out of your house in the morning and drove 7 hours here to get here? Yeah. Well, you got to go back. It's going to be another 7 hours back. So you're going to be gone for what, 15, 20 hours? He goes, I'll worry about that when I get home.
Oh my God.
I mean, but just to be with his buddies at the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is about the experience for sure.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And, I just in the wrapping, that was the year they signed John Tavares. I remember Deb and I were at a cottage and we were sitting on it and she was trying to get the news and she says, okay, they signed John. And, people are saying, oh, that'll make your trip so wonderful. And that's great. You're doing this. And I thought, yeah, it'll be good. But, it takes a little bit away from the story because really what I was trying to find out and experience was why are 6 guys from Winnipeg sitting in Minnesota in the middle of January? It's 30 below outside. They're all dressed in Maple Leaf gear, pounding beers, and the Leafs are 4 games out of a playoff spot. And why are they there? And they're cheering like crazy. Now Tavares took the team to another whole level, so it changed the whole narrative. It was still wonderful to follow the team. And the whole book is just full of experiences like that, where people planned weddings, even funerals, birthdays, what people would want on their tombstones, how they wanted to be remembered, how they wanted to get what they wanted for presents, like everything. And everything's planned around a Leaf schedule. And this just went on everywhere.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I went to a cemetery to visit my dad, and I saw the Maple Leaf flags on around the stones, sort of thing, right? So it's everywhere. It doesn't matter if you were a Leaf fan, you're always a Leaf fan like that.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
One other quick question, since we are playing Florida, what is it like to obviously you haven't been there for a playoff game. Maybe you have. I don't know. But
I was
really only one opportunity other than this year. But what's it like to go to a game there, a Leaf game?
So, before Florida was good, it was funny, but go to the rink and one thing about it, I guess I should mention 2 of the places that were really good were places like, believe it or not, New Jersey. The rink was 3/4 full when I went in 18, but the fans that are there are real fans. They were real fans cheering, and they were very good. And you could see the passion. We're in New Jersey. Same thing in Carolina. And the hospitality, you're given by all these rinks, amazing. They're so accommodating to the fans going to the rink and appreciative for you showing up. So Florida was the same way. And you could be able to go to a game, parking was free. You could get tickets pretty much easily, but they were so appreciative for us coming to the games. And it would be a lot of Leaf fans, obviously, because they're usually played back to back against Tampa. So I always plan my trips around that. And it's how it changed from 2 years ago when I went to the playoff games. And I remember they had a billboard driving into, it was in Fort Lauderdale, but they had it, and it said that the Panthers are playing the second round of playoffs. Tickets only available to U.S. or Florida residents. No Maple Leaf. Well, that was just a pile of nonsense. And I did a couple of interviews in that. I said there was more Leaf fans at that game than I'd seen at some of the previous games during the regular season. So that didn't stop them from buying tickets. And
I saw an article. I don't know how much were the tickets around there that time? Because do you remember?
Our tickets, we sat lower bowl, about halfway up, $200 a ticket, US.
Yeah, because I read an article for now, basically for Game 3, they were like available for $100 US in the upper bowl. But
you can get in the rink. Yeah,
for playoff games.
That's in Toronto. Yeah, and
forget.
I mean, that's comparison. The thing. We get, Christine, that's the problem is we get, so beat up because our ticket prices, all sports in the U.S., they're way cheaper, to get into some of these. And I'm talking about the NBA and Major League Baseball, football.
Yeah.
The tickets are way cheaper than going to a Leaf game. Leafs are the bad example because Toronto and New York can charge whatever they want, basically, in the big cities. So, and they get it. But you can get into these games, but if you want to get in, it's going to cost you sometimes, but there's lots and lots of Leafs fans. So the experience is really good because there's a lot of Leaf fans in the building. And, the Florida people, they know that. They know this is when they can get some money back on their season tickets. They can charge an extra $50 or $100, and the fans are still going to pay it because it's cheaper than going to a game in Toronto, as I just said. So the whole atmosphere is really good. And the same in Tampa, but now Tampa's won a few times. So Tampa is still a good contingent of Maple Leaf fans. I went to the April 9th game with some buddies, and it was still pretty charged up, still a good amount of Leaf fans, and they break out, and they said, well, the worst probably was when I was in Calgary, and and Toronto was playing, and Toronto's got a hat, they got a hat trick, and they were throwing hats in the ice and cheering for the Leafs, and the Calgary fans just sat there. And I thought, oh my God, what's happened with these guys? Like, it was just so loud. It was, just crazy.
Oh, God. Okay, so last thing before we let you go, prediction for this series. Do the Leafs get through?
Well, I never do predictions, ladies, but what I will do, though, I'm going to tell you what. I'll tell you one little story. I'm extremely superstitious. Okay. And so I do all these things, wear the same clothes. I won't move. Deb has to turn the lights on and off because I won't move if the Leafs are winning. I got to change. The other night I had to change rooms 3 times to watch when the score kept changing. So I try to do this. My son asked me this before the Ottawa series. And he said to me the morning of the first game, so what's the prediction, Dad? How many games? Said, Ryan, I don't make those predictions. He goes, yeah, but change it up just for one. I said, okay, only for you. I'll do this one time. I'll say if all goes right and at least play like they can, they should be rid of Ottawa in 5 games. So he said, okay. So that night, Deb and I had to go to a wedding. So I wasn't going to go, but she said, just bring your phone and watch it at TV. It was a close family. So I said, okay. So I brought the TV or my little phone to watch, and they knew I was going to do this. So I walk into the wedding, and we're at table 5. So I freak out because the 5 is pointing right at me. So I put the phone up, and at least 162. So we're leaving. Deb's going, what's wrong with your side? What are you holding? Did you hurt yourself? I said, no. And she goes, what's on your side? Like, you're holding your side. What's wrong? And I said, and so I pulled out, I took the sign. Go number 5 because of 5 games and table 5. So I put it in front of our TV.
Oh my God.
So my prediction is I always cheer for the Leafs and they won in game 6. Okay. So, but I still kept the sign. I have it right now. I'm looking at it. And so I kept it.
That's great.
So I still think if the Leafs play like we said, like we all agreed, that if they stay away from the nonsense, they take the play to Florida, they just move forward, they stay defensively responsible, I think the Leafs will win.
All
All right. Well,
take
Mike,
that.
we cannot thank you enough for being on our show. Thank you so much for being our guest. Hockey fans, be sure to go to ultimateleafsfan.com and purchase a book that will get you a raffle ticket for some great prizes and help find a cure for ALS. You can find the link to the website on our show notes and all the other spots that you mentioned as well. Also follow Mike on Facebook at The Ultimate Leafs Fan and check out Squid and The Ultimate Leafs Fan podcast on Facebook Live. Thank you so much, Mike. And
Thanks,
go Leafs,
Mike.
go!
Go Leafs,
You
go.
got it, Chris. Thanks. And Chris, you guys are wonderful, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks again to Mike for coming on the show. I like his, he said it a couple of times, actually, the same thing that you were saying last week with our LTL insider with Mike Ogello. He was saying about composure, right? Gotta have composure. And
that's what they did not have tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, some of it is the refs just whatever. They're just calling those, some of them were chintzy calls, some of them were good calls, whatever. But still, composure and the calmness that they get from Berube, like that's one thing that I liked from Mike. And then, of course, his storytelling was amazing when he was talking about when he went on that ultimate fan trip, going to all the rinks around the league and watching the Leafs play, and when he was in Minnesota and he was like in an area of the city and he could hear the Leafs doing the outdoor practice, and that was cool the way he described it. It was almost like you felt like you were there. Right. So
he's a great storyteller, that's for sure. And also, the great work that he and his wife do for all the charities, and especially with this ALS charity that they are supporting right now, is really awesome as well. So
yeah.
It was great to have him on.
Yeah, and we look forward, hopefully, to having him on again. Yeah. All right, so we'll be back next week with another playoff edition of Ladies Talking Leafs. Hit that follow button wherever you are listening to our show and don't miss an episode. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and you can also find us on the Believe network at believe.com. It's BLEAV.com. And of course, hockeyhotstove.com too. We have our new outlet there, so check us out there. And we would also love to hear from you. Be sure to leave us a rating or review. Feedback from our listeners is so important, and we thank you for taking the time.
And then another way to help us out is by visiting our Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com. You can follow us there, and if you choose to, you can support us by buying us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. You can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
And as always, thank you to our healthcare workers and first responders for all that they do.
And we thank you, as always, for listening and watching Ladies Talking Leafs. Till next time, go Leafs, go.
Go.
Do you believe?